Imagine this. The lights are hot, the crowd's roaring, and a performer is absolutely killing it on stage until something goes wrong. We've all seen fake collapses, pratfalls, and dramatic exits. But what happens when a collapse is real and nobody, not the audience, not even the band, catches on? Grab your popcorn and hold your breath, because these aren't just stage tricks. These are the shocking, bizarre, and sometimes unbelievable moments when live entertainment turned deadly real. Ready for a list that'll haunt your next concert? Dime Bag Darrell Abbott. There's rock and roll chaos. And then there's the night. Dime Bag Darrell turned a small Ohio club into a scene out of pure nightmare. Legendary guitarist and metal icon Dimebag was doing what he did best, shredding for the crowd, when a deranged fan stormed the stage and opened fire. At first, the audience thought it was some wild stunt, maybe a twisted extension of the band's ferocious energy, but in seconds, that illusion shattered. Darrell, whose riffs powered both Panther and Damageplan, was gunned down mid-song along with 3 others. The noise cut out, replaced by screams and stunned silence. No one in the Pack Club was prepared for a rock show to turn into a crime scene. The footage and news clips from that night remained chilling. The look of confusion on the crowd's faces is burned into rock history. It was more than the end of a performance. It was the moment innocence left live music forever. Dimebag's tragic finale serves as the grimmest reminder. Sometimes the show shouldn't go on. Richard Purcell opera thrives on drama, but nothing in Rich Purcell's long-distinguished career prepared him for what happened at the Metropolitan Opera in 1996. A seasoned tenor was performing the Macropulis case. At the exact moment he sang, "You Can Only Live So Long," fate came calling. Perched on a ladder as part of the set, Purcell suddenly toppled and hit the stage. The audience, seasoned opera fans used to theatrical deaths, thought it was a staging. But as the music faltered and cast members rushed to his side, the truth emerged. Purcell had suffered a fatal heart attack. For a few haunting seconds, no one in the opera house knew if they'd witnessed the ultimate performance or something unthinkably real. The irony of his final songline and the collective gasp that followed left an indelible mark on New York's art scene. To this day, opera buffs whisper about that show. Proof that sometimes art imitates life a little too closely. Nick Mensa. Drummers are the engine room of any band. Hard to miss, impossible to ignore. Nick Mensa was legendary for his wild, high-energy performances, powering metal acts like Megadeth and later M on a regular night at the Baked Potato in Los Angeles. Nick was deep in the groove, blasting out beats in front of a packed house. Madong Mensa suddenly slumped over his kit. The audience caught up in the music, barely noticed at first. Was it part of the act? Some over-the-top finale? But when bandmates rushed over and the song ground to a halt, the horror set in. Nick had suffered a fatal heart attack. The crowd's confusion gave way to heartbreak for fans who grew up worshipping his drum fills. This was a loss that hit home. Live music is supposed to feel dangerous, but not like this. Mensa's final downbeat was a shocking reminder that the show and life itself can stop on a dime. CB Hassan. Imagine being on a rock cruise, drinks flowing, nostalgia in the air, Boston's classic hits blasting over the waves. It doesn't get much better until it goes horrifically sideways. Drummer C. Hassan, that unmistakable afro and all, was in the middle of a killer set when he suddenly collapsed behind his drum kit. For a split second, the band kept playing. Fans, high on the good vibes, thought it was part of the show. Maybe a joke, maybe rock theatrics. But as the minutes ticked on and medical staff swarmed the stage, reality struck. Hassan had died of a heart attack. Live at sea, nothing says the show must go on quite like a band losing a legend mid-chorus. That cruise turned from party central to a floating wake. Sib's passing was a gut punch for classic rock lovers. Proof that sometimes the biggest hits are heartbreakers. Ronaldo Ray. Ronaldo Ray was a veteran stand-up comedian and actor known for his electric stage presence and sly, often outrageous sense of humor. In 2007, during a stand-up set at a comedy club, Ray's delivery was as sharp as ever. He was riffing on a series of wildlife stories, drawing roars of laughter, when suddenly he paused mid-joke, swayed dramatically, and collapsed to the floor. The audience, primed by his over-the-top style and years of fake pratfalls, exploded in laughter. They thought it was just another example of Ray's knack for physical comedy. But this collapse was all too real. For several tense moments, nobody moved to help, convinced it was part of the bit. Finally, fellow comedians and staff rushed to his aid. Ray was hospitalized and fortunately survived the incident. But the scare left fans with a sobering reminder that sometimes the joke's on everyone. The event became a cautionary tale in comedy circles about knowing when the act is truly over and how thin the line can be between slapstick and serious. Colonel Bruce Hampton, picture a birthday bash for the ages. Colonel Bruce Hampton, the granddaddy of jam bands, turns 70 at Atlanta's Fox Theater. The stage is loaded with legendary musicians. Fans are on their feet, and Hampton is basking in a hero's ovation. Then, out of nowhere, he collapses mid-song right at the feet of his protege. The crowd cheers, thinking it's a gag, a bit of zany showmanship, but as the band keeps playing and Hampton remains motionless, worry spreads. Minutes pass before anyone realizes the devastating truth. Bruce has passed away, surrounded by his closest friends and fans. His last act, a musical passing, was as grand as his life. Hampton's death left a bittersweet legacy in the jam scene. Proof that sometimes the curtain falls in the middle of the best encore. Dick Shawn, comedian Dick Shawn, built a career on shock, surrealism, and breaking every comedy rule in the book. So when he lay down on stage, eyes closed and silent, the audience roared. They figured this was classic Dick, pushing the limits. But as minutes ticked by and he didn't move, the laughter faded. What looked like deadpan genius was in reality a fatal heart attack. Even when stagehands finally intervened, many in the audience thought it was part of some elaborate bit. Shawn's last punchline was never supposed to land. His death at San Diego is a black comedy of errors, tragic, bizarre, and unforgettable. Sometimes even the funniest people leave us with a joke no one wanted. Tommy Cooper. The world of magic thrives on misdirection, and Tommy Cooper was a master of the unexpected. In 1984, Cooper was live on British TV, cracking jokes and pulling off tricks with his trademark clumsiness. Suddenly, he staggered, collapsed, and sat awkwardly against the curtain. The audience howled. Surely this was Cooper's latest gag. But the laughs turned to shocked silence as the minutes dragged on. Cooper had suffered a fatal heart attack, broadcast in real time to millions at home. His death is now the stuff of TV legend, a tragic reminder that comedy is sometimes indistinguishable from calamity. In the world of live entertainment, the show really does go on, even when it shouldn't. Jeppy Supperly. The world of classical music is all about control, discipline, and emotion. But sometimes, real drama interrupts even the most perfectly orchestrated evenings. Giuseppe Coppoli was a renowned Italian conductor, known for his passionate style and the emotional intensity he brought to every performance. In April 2001, while conducting Verdi's Aida at the Deutsche Oper in Berlin, Sinopoli suddenly collapsed on the podium mid-performance. For a few surreal moments, the orchestra played on, thinking their maestro's dramatic gesture was a new twist in his famously expressive conducting style. Even the audience, used to his flamboyant movements, sat silent, unsure. But as Sinopoli failed to recover, panic rippled through the hall. He suffered a fatal heart attack and passed away that night, leaving the world stunned. Sinopi's final moments reminded everyone that when you give everything to your art, sometimes art takes everything in return. Irma Boulevard. You think you've seen risky stage acts? Try performing with a live cobra. Indonesian pop star Irma Bull was known for her wild snake shows, dancing and singing while draping deadly reptiles over her shoulders. During one performance, the cobra bit her leg. Irma, ever the pro, shrugged it off and kept going. Audiences thought it was just another daring stunt. For almost an hour, she sang and danced until venom took over and she collapsed. Even then, Fans assumed it was the act's dramatic finale. The truth was far more tragic. Irma died on stage. Her bravery overshadowed by a fatal bite. Her final show became a viral legend and a sobering lesson on the thin line between shock and tragedy. Tiny Tim. Tiny Tim wasn't your standard pop star. He was a ukulele-toting oddball who seemed to exist in a world of his own, tiptoeing through life just like his famous song. In November 1996, at a benefit event in Minneapolis, Tiny Tim was doing what he did best, entertaining a crowd with his eccentric charm and signature falsetto. The night was vintage, tiny, unpredictable, endearing, and a little offbeat, as he began singing Tiptoe Through the Tulips, his wife by his side. No one expected the performance would be his last. Halfway through the tune, Tiny Tim's hands trembled. He tried to push through, refusing to let anything steal his spotlight. Then, with a sudden pause, he collapsed right there on stage, the ukulele dropping with a clatter. For a split second, the audience chuckled, thinking it